What's up, guys, and welcome back to another ArchiTech Network podcast. Today, we're continuing on our theme of AEC tech startups, and we've got the one and only Pamela and Jesper Wallgren from Finch. If you've not come across Finch before, I'm sure you may have seen their viral video that came out a few years ago of this plan that was kind of contracting parametrically. That turned into what is today Finch, which is a platform that you can use to import your massing from whatever design tool you use. So for example, Rhino, and then it will generate the plans using your massing, using a combination of computation and AI. It's a really useful platform, so you can go from that kind of massing feasibility stage to actually getting units and very detailed plans extremely quickly. So it's really a tool that shows you the power of using computation and AI in the early design stages. So we're going to be talking to them about their journey creating Finch. So it was this kind of tools that they had in an architecture practice, and then it became Finch. We're going to talk to them about the use of computation and AI, and also their own journey creating a startup as architects, entrepreneurs. As always, if you like this episode, give us a like and a subscribe. The bigger the channel grows, the bigger the guests that we can get onto the podcast. So thank you all for the support so far. We're literally just about to hit 20K, which is mind-blowing. The channel has grown to this stage so quickly. So thank you for the support. But without any further ado, let's jump into it and talk to Pamela and Jesper. This video is brought to you by ArchiTech Network and our online platform of courses, where you can learn from world-class architects working in some of the practices that you can see in these videos. You can learn Grasshopper, Revit, Rhino Inside, Twinmotion, and some of our new courses on AI, and lots more courses that we're delivering over the next year. So please, if you like this video, check out our courses in the link below so we can keep bringing you more content like this. That's it. We're live. Jesper, Pamela, welcome to the podcast. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think it's a really nice time to have you guys on. Like we were just saying, we're on a little bit of a startup theme, and I think we've had some VC. We had a VC on, we had the Speckle guys on, and I felt like I really like this direction. So I want to have you guys on and some other people that in this startup space. But I know people have probably heard about Finch already. I've talked a little bit about the intro, but I also just want to touch on a little bit about both your backgrounds. So you've got both quite interesting backgrounds, as most startup founders do. You're both architects, right? And I also noticed you guys, you've obviously had this interest in the technology side. Jesper, I even seen you work for Skanska on the construction side at one point, right? Which is quite interesting. But you founded an architecture practice for a few years, and then you founded Finch, correct?
Yeah, that's correct. I mean, Finch is a little bit of a spin-off from that company. Many of the early prototypes that we developed for Finch were actually developed in that architecture company.
Right. I feel like also a lot of, AEC architect startup or archipreneurs, maybe I'll call it. They kind of go through this process of creating an architecture practice, and it's a hard business, and then they kind of pivot to something more entrepreneurial.
Yeah, I think that's was the case for us. We've always been interested in this space, and I mean, the background is that we used to run our own architecture studio, just as Pamela mentioned, and we developed all of these tools in-house to kind of make our own workflow more efficient, to be able to compete with the big offices out there. Although we were just like a small practice, and it was when we posted one of these videos of one of the in-house tools called Adaptive Plan online that the whole idea of Finch grew. And it was basically me just sharing it Instagram. I figured no one would care, it's just computational science all around the world. Maybe I get a couple of likes and can share my ideas with a couple of colleagues out there. But it just blew up, and thousands of people started to like and sharing, and big offices started to contact us, and that's why we figured, we're really onto something here, and it just felt much more exciting, being able to, put this into product, share it with our colleagues, and, kind of be part of the the bigger discussions rather than just sitting in our own little practice and doing our project.
Yeah, that's really interesting. I kind of that's was my next question, is like, how did Finch begin? Where did it emerge from? And I was gonna say that, like, I remember, that kind of quite famous animation of the plan kind of parametrically growing that went kind of viral, and so did that kind of just happen? You kind of posted this thing, and that's when you decided this thing could be a business, or had you already kind of thought about this being a business? Yeah, talk a little bit more about how that origins really began.
I mean, at this phase, I think we were primarily developing these in-house tools in order to solve the problems that we were experiencing as architects. And we were experiencing many pains that our customers are experiencing today. I mean, the problem of spending too much time struggling with software when what you actually want to do is to design amazing architecture. So Jesper here developed a lot of in-house tools that we could use in order to reallocate time and shift towards spending more time on actually designing. So I think when we started to publish these videos, it was more about promoting our own architecture studio, but it wasn't, just like Jesper said, when it went viral, that we understood that we could make a bigger impact on the industry as a software company than we could as architects.
Yeah, and I think as soon as, I mean, we've been running a lot of companies together, me and Pamela. She's the more entrepreneurial of us, and I'm kind of maybe more the problem solver, or so to speak. So I also think that when we posted this video, I think Pamela picked up fairly quickly that here is a big interest that where we can, change a lot of things and start a new company and so on. And that was just exciting, I think.
Yeah, it's really interesting, because I've talked a lot in this podcast about this idea of a 10x architecture practice, that, like, because the way it works in architecture practice is, if you're like a technology person, or you're an architect but you're very fluent in the technology side, you become a computational specialist, or a BIM person, or a DT if you've got a little bit of a mix of it. And some people stay on the design side and become like a very good project lead. But I love this idea of, okay, what if you made a firm of these kind of 10x architects? That's kind of where the term architects come from. And exactly what you said, you use these technologies and tools to compete with the big guys, because you're just a few people at that point. But it's interesting that you took that and saw an opportunity and thought, okay, now we can develop this as a business, as something many architects can use. And also, I think in our last podcast with Patrick from Fundamental, which is a VC company, he kind of used this analogy of an engineering firm, whether they had the same thing, whether they use that as a way to turn it into a technology company like you guys did, or they use it in-house as a way to kind of just do projects faster. So yeah, I think so that was the beginning. Talk us through how, maybe we'll put the business cap on of how did you get going? Did you try and raise some money? Did you get some grant funding? Like, how did you get the ball rolling with it?
I mean, initially we still had our architecture company, so it took some time before we folded that. We understood quite early on that two architects cannot build this by themselves. We need to find a third co-founder that is a developer. So we went out and we found Martin Kretz. He's our CTO today. He has a background from Sony and has been part of teams building SaaS solutions as an entrepreneur there. And then, since we had this big interest from large players from the industries, we started to build the product closely together with them. We raised a few 100,000 euros and started to build what Finch is today.
Yeah, so you kind of essentially bootstrapped it, which is a great way to actually create a startup. You don't raise money; you actually sell the product as you're developing it.
Yeah, I mean, initially, we have raised a few rounds, and we have raised VC rounds as well. I think we're up to 4 million euros in total. but initially we just raised a very small pre-seed, built a product closely together with a few customers, and that waiting list kept growing.
Yeah. That's really interesting. I'm always like, now I'm kind of on that startup side. I think it's really interesting to talk about that business step, how you get the actual business going at the beginning. But talk about the evolution of what is Finch, like what is Finch3D. Like at the beginning, I felt like you guys were, you had, maybe it was a more broader tool, and you've kind of focused in on spatial planning stuff with AI. Yeah, talk us through what is Finch today, and the evolution from that first concept to where you are now.
Yeah, I mean, Finch is a generative co-pilot for architects working with residential projects, and currently we're focusing on very early stages. So what that essentially means is that in Finch we generate floor plans. And this allows our users to go deeper into the details of a project much faster, in order to make informed decisions about their designs and really understand and be confident that this is feasible, this is compliant, this is the actual optimal solution for my project, for my site, and for my client. I think now today we're really focused around generating floor plans. When we started, we were testing out many different ideas. I think as a startup, it's quite common to not really know who you are. It takes some time to understand, like, okay, what are the real pain points? What should we be focusing on? You always want to solve a lot of different problems. But I think I think a few years ago we realized that, okay, floor plans, that is the big pain points that our customers want us to solve. So let's double down on that. But I mean, we have built parking scripts, we have built terrain tools, show them for customers and so on, tested in projects and so on. But it is the floor plans that we are focusing on today.
Yeah, I think it was really cool to see at the beginning you had this kind of like the viral script, let's call it, and then I remember, as you said, you were playing around with like topography. Like I remember those like videos of placing like apartment blocks and stuff, and videos and parking and stuff like this, and you've now kind of zoomed in on floor plan layouts, which is quite interesting. I think one thing I've seen, tuned into your webinar, I've not been able to use it recently, but hopefully we can, I'll test it one day. One thing I like about what I see about Finch is that unlike some of these other kind of layout tools, that they sort of define the whole building, like you draw a line and then, it's that classic kind of two apartments on either side. But you guys seem to be kind of like taking any shape and working with that and filling in the blanks, which I find way more interesting and appealing as an architect. Maybe talk more about this if someone hasn't seen Finch. We'll throw up some videos as well whilst we're talking. But
please do.
That kind of process.
I mean, we always say that Finch is with architects and AI designed together, and the together part is key, and it's also key that Finch is for architects. And in order to be a solution for architects, we as a software company must allow the architects to be creative, to have that design freedom that they need in order to do what they do best, which is design great architecture. So this is why we don't focus on generating volumes. In Finch, you can upload any shape. I don't think we support curves, right, Jesper? But any other complex shapes we do support. And then in Finch, we take care of the boring tasks, such as dividing a floor plate into the right unit mix that your client is expecting, and then generating floor plans that you can make an informed decision about the project's feasibility.
And maybe also add on and explain. It is how would you describe it? Is it a plugin people can use to Rhino? I understand it's kind of like a somewhat a standalone thing in the cloud. Like how do people use it with their design tool?
Yeah. Should you and I?
Whoever wants it.
I'll go for it. But I mean, Finch connects to existing software, and that has been key from the start. So you can start at the moment, you can start in Revit, you can start in Rhino, you can start in Grasshopper, and there's a Forma integration coming very soon as well. And the reason to that is that if you're not doing all at once, like Revit are trying to do terrain, if you're not doing that and do the thing that we are doing, that we just focus on the inside, generating the best floor plans possible, then of course you need to fit into the workflow of the architect. And I think each time you send a file, you lose data and so on. So our approach to this was to build plugins to the tools that the architects use. So with the if we take Rhino as an example, the way it works is that you model your mass in Rhino, you put it in the Finch layer, you click a button, and it's sent up to the web app called Finch. And then you can design the inside and generate the inside of the building. And why is it in the web? Yeah, that's good of many reasons, but one of them is that we can, of course, take advantage of the immense computer power that's in the cloud, and we can generate things and so on. And then you stream the results back in either to Rhino, or if you wanted to go down to Revit as a native Revit model. So that was the approach we took, and it seems to land very well with our customers as well. I think it's fitting into their workflow. It's a pain point of sending files and exporting, importing. You forgot something, you should export it again. It's just like the click of a button is much more satisfying.
Yeah, that's always the dream, right? Of just making a magical button.
Yeah.
But I think the approach that you guys have of you are not generating the form, you're filling in the blanks, so to speak, is really smart. Because I see these other ones where I'm not quite sure who they're selling to, because it sort of creates the entire projects. So I'm almost like, well, would architects use that because you're kind of taking away the part where they can make the most impact at the early stage, or does a developer use this and get into the initial design stages? So I think I can see you guys have come from architecture practice and you kind of know what architects wants, which is a really important thing. Yes, but I want to ask a bit of a nerdy Grasshopper computational questions, since I understand you were making those initial videos. At what point did it become because at the beginning I could kind of see I could kind of see how I could make that as a very advanced script.
Yeah.
At what point was it becoming scripts, and then it became into a tool, and obviously I'm assuming you had to go into kind of more of a developer platform. I'd love to know a bit more about that transition from what I thought were Grasshopper scripts to coding.
Yeah, but it started out as Grasshopper scripts, and still today we do a lot of Grasshopper script because, of course, it's not in the product anymore. But during the development of new features, I would say, or from my personal opinion, there's no tool out there that is faster and more efficient than Grasshopper. Just throwing up a script, does it work? Yes, this is good enough. Now we can do real coding of it.
All right.
That's kind of it's very interesting. It's kind of a secret, not to the AEC community. Everybody knows about Grasshopper, but none of our developers or coders had heard of it.
Right.
And was amazed about when they saw it and how fast we could do this kind of thing. So that was really so we still use it a lot. But now I'm digressing a little bit here. So back to your question. I think it came to a point, the thing you spoke about earlier on, where you have the designers and then you have the computational designers that dig into it. And there's the power of computational design and parametric design and so on, I would say, is that you can do things at scale. And you define your script, and if you're good at it, you can achieve a lot of things. But it also tend to be very like rigid system, and I mean you can do 2,000 things very similar, but if you would like to go in and change a couple of them here and there and do customize, then it becomes very hard. So we tried to break this kind of parametric chain where everything comes together and open up for input from the designer, and that's where we have to leave the kind of just the thought of the parametric thing, and then we started to doing the editing part and exploring how can the editing part and the parametric part live together. And then what I would say, that is where it started to become a real product that architects and creative people can use. And of course a lot of challenges as well. I mean, have that live side by side. But that also opened up for other things besides the parametric, to optimization algorithms, purely AI algorithms, and so on, that it could all fit into this kind of open system. Maybe it's hard to follow here, but I think that was a key, point in the development where we left the kind of purely parametric chain of events, where we allowed the designer to get in and just go bananas, basically.
Yeah.
I mean, opening up the black box and allowing the architects or the users to interact with everything that is generating, and steering the designs in the direction where they needed to go, because they're the experts, and we believe very strongly that they should be in the driver's seat.
Yeah, I think that's a real advantage. I think it's interesting what you say. So to go back to the grasshopper thing, you still kind of, I almost interpret that as like grasshopper, you actually sketch the idea of this thing, test if it works, and then you can pass it on to maybe the developer crew that can interpret that and make it into a more robust tool, I assume.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, Whiteboard and Grasshopper is our two main sketching tools. It's almost always start with us, a bunch of us in front of a whiteboard sketching it out, and if it is fairly advanced, geometrical operations, I go and make a prototype in Grasshopper. Could we make this work? Yeah, this makes sense. And then a couple of developers, make it into real code and refine it, of course, and so on. But I mean, a thing that I maybe spend a day in Grasshopper, or maybe even an hour, could maybe take like 2 or 3 weeks for the developer to put into product. So then it's much more efficient to test in Grasshopper from our perspective, at least. Test it in Grasshopper, see can we make this happen. When we have, we know this is we're onto something. Now we can invest time in it, because it's always about how do we as a small team allocate our time as efficiently as possible. And the other thing that I need to mention here, one should not underestimate the skill set we as architects has. I mean, if you have been practicing architect for a couple of years or 10 years in a firm, you also learned a lot about what is an apartment, what is a result that is actually architecture. And I think for all of the tech startups out there that wants to do something for AEC, it's important to have that role in the company to make sure that what you're building is not just cool tech that generates strange shapes. What you're building is actually solving real problems for architects, out there.
Yeah, that's a really valid point, and we've also seen this in the sort of modular building stuff, where a lot of these companies are not founded by not only architects, but like they're not even in the AEC space, but they see this opportunity, and it means you create a product now, whether that's software or hardware of building buildings, that kind of makes sense maybe from a business perspective, but not in reality. So I think one of the things I actually wanted to ask you guys and Pamela, since you seem to be the kind of bit on the business side and entrepreneurial side is like, what did you guys feel being entrepreneurs as architects had like its pros or its cons? Because sometimes architects we're not that well. We're stereotypically not as great at business. You want to do free competitions and free work or whatever. But on the other hand, I think there can be some really great entrepreneurs that are architects. How did you find your skill set as an architect becoming entrepreneurs?
I think regardless of background, going into tech and startups, there's so much you need to learn. So I think being expert at your customers' problems, I think that is a great skill set to have. And then how to raise capital, how to set up a go-to-market strategy, and so on. You can have a lot of smart people around you that can coach you on that. But I'm really understanding the nuances as well of the customer's problems that you need to solve. That is key. So from that perspective, I think it's you need to be an architect in order to build a great solution for architects. And currently, I mean, most of our sales team, CS team, all of us are architects. That way we don't talk about features. We talk about, okay, I understand you have a problem here. Let me show you what that solution to that problem looks like in Finch.
Was there, when you're kind of making that transition from running an architecture practice, obviously you're kind of learning a lot about business running an architecture practice as well, but like I have, it's kind of a, you learn very quickly this world of startup and exact go-to-market strategies and raising money. Is there any like resource that you recommend to anyone that's interested in this, like a book that you read that was really useful, or like a course, or was it just kind of the university of life, university of running a startup?
I mean, a book that both Jesper and I love is this book called Hard Things About Hard Things. It's just so brutally honest about how it is to run a startup. So I would definitely recommend that. Other than that, I think something that has helped us a lot is being part of incubators, accelerators. And a good thing about raising capital is that you do get professional investors, usually in your board, that can also support you throughout this journey, introduce you to people who can help you set up that go-to-market strategy or whatnot.
And I would say also, I mean, in general, you can always reach out to people that has done this journey before. And my experience is that people are willing to help you, give you advice and tips and so on. So I think the whole startup scene is quite I mean, people are not afraid of sharing their mistake because everyone has done so many, and that is just valuable to know. So you don't have to make all of them yourselves. You might be able to learn from others.
Yeah, I think that's a really good advice. And I mean, invite someone for lunch and pick their brains for an hour. You will learn a lot.
And sorry, go ahead.
No, go for it.
Yeah, I mean, also, I think make people pay for your product in some way. I mean, fairly early on to just test, because when there is an exchange of money, you also get the truth from people. Right. I mean, if it's $1 or if it's $10, you don't need to sign big accounts from day one. But try to, just as architects, you should not give away your time for free. You should charge for the work you do, and the same thing for startups or when you're building products. I think that's when you get the real honest feedback, when someone had invested their time, paid some money for it, and what you deliver is not good enough. Then you can be sure that they will tell you. While if you give it away for free, and it's still the kind of thing that people might say, oh, this is good, I might use it in the future, and so on.
More brutally constructive feedback, hopefully. That's funny you mentioned the book, because I think I have it on my coffee table right now as my next one, so I'm definitely gonna jump into that. Maybe just to finish on this kind of like business track, and I know you mentioned you kind of raised a little bit of money, but talk us through the stages you've been through. Like, did you go through an incubator as well, pre-seed? Yeah, talk us about that evolution.
Yeah, I mean, when the adaptive plan started to go viral and we decided to fold that architecture company and go into tech, we understood that it was going to be a big transition, and which it was. So we started out the closest incubator here in Malmö where we are. It's called Mink. And they were a great support in introducing us to our first investors, setting up that pitch deck. Yeah, so that was very helpful. Back then we had essentially a few Grasshopper script and one-pager business plan or something like that. But we had a really big interest, so we could validate those ideas very early on with customers and also leading architecture firms, which also proved that this is an industry that is actively looking for change. They're actively looking for something to replace what they have because they're not happy with what they have. They need something else.
Yeah, so the incubator is quite a common one. I see a lot of people doing them. For maybe people in the audience that don't fully know what an incubator is, essentially like a mini startup school, right? You come with an idea, they coach you through how to put a deck together, they connect you with investors, and then you go out. And then at that point, do you raise like a pre-seed or seed or something, and then go from there?
Yeah, exactly. So we raised a small round from angels around here. And that took us to a few paying customers, like a first version of our platform, which allowed us then to go out and raise a seed round. This was when we brought in the first venture capital firm called Inventure. And then we were on the VC track, which has been great. I mean, they are great investors. And then they can help you introduce you to next investors and also help you put you together with right people that you need. You will need to hire a lot of people. You will probably need to learn a lot of new things. Here, investor usually has a great network of ex-operators.
And then, so now, where are you guys at? How many people are in the office? Do you have an office? Is it all remote? I know you guys are based in Sweden, right? Yeah. Where are you at today?
Yeah, I mean, we have an office. We're 15 people right now. We have an office here in Malmö. Everyone working with sales and marketing are usually at the office. The developers like to work from home, which is okay when you work at Finch.
I'm trying to get them in a little bit more.
But we invite them in when it's time to do some sketching on the whiteboard and so on.
Okay, so you have
a hybrid model.
Yeah. Oh, that's cool. Yeah, I'm always, because I was talking to Speckle guys, they're like completely remote, so I'm always interested in like your philosophy as an office. Like, I think there is something about being in person. Those whiteboard moments are pretty critical. But okay, that's super interesting. So you've grown into a big business. One thing, I think it's time we open up the can of AI. I want to ask you guys about this world of AI, because I think we'll talk specifically about Finch and then more broadly. But I think one of the reasons I really want to pick your brain on it is, I feel like there was this transition where, exactly what you were talking about. These things start as a script, right? And so they're more computational. It's not necessarily AI, and then AI came around in a big way, 2 years ago now, and it's really hard to decipher, who is using AI and who is just, has some kind of script in the background. Unpack a little bit, like, how are you guys using AI? How does it play a role? What is it? And yeah, maybe explain to the audience how you're using AI.
Yeah, but I think just as you mentioned, we started out very parametric in the beginning, and I think our first AI models was tested 3 years ago and so on, and to be honest, the results was very, very bad back then. The last months or last year, the models and the technique has just gone so fast, so that is very exciting now. And I usually try to explain it like it's always a combination of AI that generates something. It's still a little bit vague and so on, and then we use parametric things to make it more crisp, make the lines straight and the corridor the right width and so on. So I would say usually I say that where we are right now, maybe it's 20% that's real AI and 80% that's like a geometry engine and so on. And the exciting thing for us right now during 2025 is that we will see it, kind of almost a reverse thing, that more and more of those things are going to be replaced by real AI. And what I mean then is image generation language models and these kind of things that has developed lately. And so that is really, really exciting, and that will unlock a lot of new use cases for us. Just as an example, right now we can generate floor plans and so on, but things that we have a hard time doing now is to maybe set a room in the middle of it and generate around it and so on. And these are the kind of use cases we're trying to unlock now with more AI, and it is. I mean, it's a really exciting time now because it's going so fast, not only for us, for everyone out there. So I think we will see a lot of great product and tool coming out that actually can harvest the new power too. I mean, we also use a lot of AI tools that has nothing to do with Finch, but all just like a support chat that's driven by AI, or, I mean, what's wrong with my pitch deck, ChatGPT? Tell me,
Yeah, that's right. ChatGPT is a great business advisor, actually.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that's nice the way you describe it. Is like, it's still parametric, and then AI is kind of filtering in, and it's kind of like, it will become the kind of dominant thing.
And we have always, I mean, we did not set out to become an AI company. We set out to create a great product for architects where they can design great buildings, and we always fiddled with AI and so on, and tried to make it better and better. And I think now we reached the point where it's starting to get really, really exciting and really, really useful, because that is always key. I mean, AI has not, or for a company like us, we can say, yeah, we do 100% AI plans, but if the customer are not happy with it, I mean, it needs to be, results they like, that they can make a real project of.
Is there a particular kind of part of AI that's really useful for you guys? For example, do you use image diffusion to create plans or like train plans in some ways? LLMs to, I don't know, like understand building codes or something like that. Is there one that's particularly useful for what you're doing, or a mix of them?
Yeah, so of course I cannot tell the whole secret recipe here, but
you can't open the secret Finch AI box. But
but it is both of that LLM and image things. We do not do scanning, building code, document, and these kind of things. We focus a lot of generation of geometry supported by the image generation and so on. And then the language models, of course, is something that we're looking into, how we can communicate with the results and so on. And I think in general, I mean, the language models and the image things and so on has come. I mean, there's so many big players investing so much money in it so it's going very, very fast, while the geometry models has, in my opinion, not come that far, although we see a lot of exciting things coming out from NVIDIA and so on. So I think these things are also going to get better and better very fast now. So that I'm at the side that I think it's very exciting.
Yeah. Do you think you'll add in stuff like you're saying right now it's not kind of code driven, like you don't say this plan is in the UK or Sweden or whatever, but do you think that in theory could be added at like a later date with LLMs and stuff like that, or is that a lot more complicated than it seems?
We work with accessibility a lot already now, but the way we work with it is that we allow our customers to build their custom data sets basically, and then of course this is the foundation for what they're being generated, and then we also have a system in our platform. We call it the Finch graph, where we map all of the spaces as nodes, and then we map the connections to each other, and so on. And there we can check a lot of things, everything from like sizes of rooms to collision detection of beds and so on. So we work a lot with accessibility in that sense, but that is also more of a I would say this is more a geometric exercise, because accessibility and so on is usually about this corridor needs to be 1200 millimeters,
Right.
and if it's 1199, someone will be very sad. So then it's but for sure, I mean, it's going so fast. So within, I don't know, a near future, I think we will see more and more of this kind of thing, and then we will also, discover all the pain points the architect has today, that they are not, different rules are competing with each other and so on.
Yeah. What's maybe to take a step back, and I'm curious to hear from both of you of what's your view on AI in the industry? Like, do you see this as this thing that's going to take over? Do you see this as a thing? Obviously, I think the camp you'll be in is exactly what Finch is doing. You're kind of amplifying what architects can do. But yeah, what's your general thoughts on AI taking a step back as architects?
I mean, we're building a solution for architects, so we believe that the architects are not going anywhere. My passion, our mission is to just provide them with better solutions. I think they deserve better solutions so that they can focus on what they do best. I think that's the short answer.
Yeah, and I mean, I think hopefully we just will be able to make better and better architecture of it, and of course the profession will keep evolving as it has done so far. I mean, 50 years ago, maybe it was the person that was most skilled with the pen and so on, and then BIM came, and who was really tech savvy, and now we have the computational designers and so on the rise. That so I think the profession will always keep evolving, and the ones that can harvest the power of these new tools, because it is tools that is an important part of it. Harvest the power of these tools to create great architecture, both for themselves and inhabitants, the city, and their clients, of course, will take the lead, I think.
Yeah, adopt it and thrive.
Yeah.
And become, it sounds like you guys were kind of. It's funny, you guys were creating that kind of teched up architecture practice, and you kind of went down this road of becoming the technology company, but now you're kind of empowering these new firms to maybe compete with the bigger firms, which I think is really interesting.
Yeah, somehow, I mean, I think AI can be also like a very democratic thing, or these kind of tools that will enable people with an idea, with a vision. I want to create something great here. Earlier on, maybe you needed, a whole team of architects to be able to do this kind of things, and it was, you had to be able to employ all of these people and so on. But I don't know, maybe in future, smaller offices can do bigger things and so on.
Yeah, I think that's the really exciting thing, and then we'll see maybe even more, little firms.
Yeah.
Maybe as we kind of come towards the end of the podcast, talk about what's next. What are you guys working on? Is there any kind of new things that are coming? And yeah, what are you working on right now?
Should I go?
Yeah,
for that
go
one?
ahead.
Yeah, well, I mean, just as I've said before, the models is just becoming better and better. So we still we will keep our focus, generate floor plans, residential floor plans, be the best at that, create the very best tool for architects to both generate and edit and design and create floor plans. But of course, we are looking into other typologies as well, like office, hospitality, healthcare, and so on,
Okay.
and also going deeper into project. Being able to stay longer in a project, more detail, and so on. But having that said, I think it's very important to keep the focus now, before we dig into all of the other typologies.
Yeah, and I mean, that's on the product side. I would say on the customer side, we're really excited about being able to onboard more customers. I mean, as of today, we have more than 80,000 people on our waiting list, and
Wow.
we will be launching a free tier here this spring. So that will allow more people to test Finch, to build up their plan library in Finch. We want them to build their plan hub in Finch so they can reuse them in project after project. And this is something that we don't plan to charge for. We only charge for the AI features. So I'm really excited about that. Opening up
Wow.
for more architects to test Finch.
Yeah, that was going to be my next question. If someone is listening and wants to try it, so right now, what's the official mode you're in? Is it like beta mode? You have like people testing it, or
I mean,
um,
You go ahead.
we have customers using Finch in real projects and getting really great results. Um, and if you want to use Finch, I mean, sign up to our waiting list, reach out to me. We are onboarding customers to the platform, but currently selecting users from our waiting list. So
yeah,
that's the route to get access.
amazing. And then you're saying in spring you'll have like maybe a tier that people can jump into and test out.
Yes.
Very exciting. So good things on the horizon. We'll make sure we'll release this soon so people can sign up to the wait list. But that's incredible. 80,000 people waiting.
Yeah, and I mean, again, it says something about the industry that it's looking for
Right.
change. People are actively looking for solutions that can help them become more efficient in their design work.
I'm very excited. I think I'm on the list. I maybe have a couple of my emails on that list from work and ATN, but yeah, from what I've seen online, it looks really cool. And I'm sure I'll get my hands on it sooner or later and try it out. Um, Maybe like a few points to close on. One thing I always like to ask guests, and you can't say anything to do with Finch. I'm going to make a rule, but like, is there something 2025? Jesper, I think you touched on AI is moving so quickly and all this kind of stuff. But is there something that you see on the horizon that you're really excited about? Whether that's kind of closely related, like AI stuff, or something completely different, like VR and AR or whatever, that each of you are excited about? I know it's a tricky one to answer because it's so broad, but um, yeah, anything that's exciting you right now.
Yeah, I mean, in general, I would say the thing I mentioned earlier on, it goes so fast with the new models, so it's really hard to say where we're going to be in 12 months' time. It's also seems to getting much cheaper to train a lot of these models and so on. That
Right.
will also be very beneficial for all of us, of course. So I think the progress is going to be really exciting. And then we also see the market picking up quite a lot. I mean, it has been a rough year or rough bunch of years for a lot of firms all around the world that has laid. We've seen a lot of layoffs in the big firms as well.
Yeah.
Yes, I think we're seeing the market picking up now. More firms are starting great projects and so on, and I also think that will be very exciting for everyone in the industry.
You read my mind, Jesper. I was going to say that AI is, of course, the obvious answer here. But yeah, I think we will see a shift in the firms. I think, just like Jesper mentioned, many firms had a really tough year last year, given the high interest rates, and very few new residential projects were being done Now we see an uptick in the residential market, and most of the firms are actually have a smaller staff. So that means that you need to do things even more efficiently than you did before. And this is where new technology comes in. So I think we will see a big shift in behavioral and how you work with new projects now that the market is picking up again.
Yeah, that's good news, because I didn't want to spook it, but I was like, 2025 seems a bit more things moving, because 24 was at least here in the UK was a little bit of a winter, but that's really exciting. You've sparked one more question, Pamela, in your answer, but do you in terms of people that are reaching out that want to use and adopt your tools, do you find that's more the big firms, the medium firms, or the maybe younger, newer firms? And the point of me asking this is I kind of, from my perspective, I think the big practices don't seem to be moving as quickly as maybe they should be. Do you see a trend? Is it the kind of big firms? Is it the little firms? do you see any trend as who wants to adopt your tool?
Yeah, I think that's a good question. I mean, 80,000 people, so we have a little bit of everything in that waiting list. I think it's more challenging for the smaller firms to pick up new solutions because they have to pick up one, whilst the big firms more have like a tool set of different solutions, so they can choose a bunch of different expert tools in different areas, and perhaps usually also have a computational team, someone that can help them implement those solutions. So in that sense, the bigger firms are better equipped to drive that implementation and adoption of new solutions.
But I think what many of the people on the waiting list have in common is also that they're curious about new technique, new workflows, what's out there. I mean, they are a lot of them, not all of them, of course, but are maybe early adopters and have tried other things, and that is something that we usually talk to our customers about. Have you tried other solution? What do you think? And so on.
Exciting. Well, it sounds like an exciting year for you guys. I'm excited, so hopefully later this year I can test out Finch as well. And I think we'll try and get you guys on our new feature, ArchiTech Talks, we're going to call it, where you guys can actually kind of maybe present and show on screen what you're doing, so people can also see, hands-on. But for now, thank you guys so much for joining the podcast. If people want to reach out to you, find out about Finch, what's the best way to contact you and find out more about what you're doing?
If you're interested in getting early access to the platform, send an email to Pamela@Finch3D.com, and I will guide you to the next steps.
I'll add that to the video below. Do you have a platform where if people reach out to you at, like LinkedIn or something like that, is that a good place if people want to pick your brain on stuff?
I mean, we are quite visual at LinkedIn. Instagram is also a place where Jesper posts a lot of behind the scenes from the product development.
Awesome. I'll put it all in the links below the chat so people can subscribe, follow, all of that good stuff. But thank you, Jesper, Pamela, so much for coming onto the podcast. And I'm really excited to see what you guys do in the future.
Thank you. And again, thank you for having us.
Yeah, thank you.
All right. Cheers.